our bagels. Last night we prepped up our sourdough bagels and then our double chocolate sourdough bagels using our chocolate sourdough, and then there's some mini chocolate chips in them. We're gonna season up some of our plain ones with Italian herbs and everything, and then we'll leave a couple plain because my kids love them that way. But we're gonna boil them off here in a honey bath. So I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons of honey here. And then we're gonna make bacon, sausage, some different cream cheeses to go along with it, and an omelet. So we want about, I wanna say like 2 tablespoons of honey in here. This is going to give the bagels a really lovely brown color when you like bake them up, and it allows the spices to kind of stick a little bit better. I'm just gonna get my slotted spatula here. Give this a little bit of a stir. And then we're gonna pop our bagels in here once we got a nice little boil. And we'll boil each one off about 30 seconds on each side, so about a minute per bagel on here. I actually decided to use my saute pan for this because then I can fit 4 bagels instead of my sauce pot, which I can only fit 2 in. So we're gonna slide these guys in here. And we're gonna boil them off. And also using the honey and then boiling it will create a sticky surface on each one, which will allow the spices to really hold up on there. There we go. And we'll let those boil, and then we'll pop them over and get the other side. There we go. While we're waiting for that to boil up, let's get our bacon going so that we can have it cooking up, because bacon always takes a hot minute to get to it. And we're just gonna do my little crazy fry way, because I feel like it's the best way to have bacon. It's just fried up in a pan. So let's get these guys out here. And let me wash my hands real quick. We'll pull the bacon apart in just a second, but it's been about 30 seconds, so we'll pop these guys over so that they can kind of cook on the other side. There we go. Now they'll be a little bit dimpled when they come out, but when they bake up, they smooth out. I'm flipping them over, cray-cray. That water off. They don't flip as nicely with a deeper pot, because a deeper pot you can kind of dunk them, but with this you can't really dunk. So I guess maybe I'm gonna have to get my big sauce pot out next time and do it. It's better than doing it just 2 bagels at a time, especially since we're making a double batch, because I started up my chocolate sourdough starter. So last night we baked up a chocolate, cherry, walnut, chocolate chunk bread. It was super delicious. And then we have, so I'm gonna do a couple different chocolate recipes, because I feel like winter is chocolate time. Okay. Let's get these bacon cooking. I'm gonna start them higher and then I'll take them off. And let's get these guys out. And you can see how much they puff up in size just with this little boiling here. But they're gonna get a little bigger too when they bake up. I'm gonna turn my water down just a smidge here. And we're gonna get this next batch in. Now we've got a really big rolling boil going. Grab my little thing, clear it up just a little bit, and just boil them off for 30 seconds. These are sourdough bagels. Super, super easy to make.
Can you go over the process from after you made the dough to now?
Yes. So what you do is you're gonna form them into a little ball. Then you stick your thumb through it, both your thumbs, and then you go like this to stretch them out into almost like into the little dough or the bagel shape. And then you just put them on a baking tray. I do put a little bit of oil on it so that that doesn't stick to it as much. And then you cover them with a damp like cloth and let them rise for about an hour to an hour and a half. I do it in my bread proofing section in my oven. And then you heat up water, add about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of honey, and you boil them in a honey bath for about 30 seconds on each side. And that's gonna give you that bagel chewy skin texture. So you've got to boil them or you won't have a bagel, you'll just have a roll. And then we're gonna season these up with a little bit of spices here, but we'll start boiling off our chocolate ones. My chocolate ones, we're gonna keep straight. I'm not gonna add any toppings to them because there's already mini chocolate chips in them and they don't need anything else to make them shine.
You have a question? After boiling them, are they done?
No, we are going to bake these in the oven at 425 for 20 minutes. And that's gonna give you, they're gonna make them kind of a nice brownish color. The honey makes them a little bit darker than if you were to use like a baking soda bath or whatnot. Lost my spatula there. There we go. But yes, you gotta bake them off. Let's give our bacon a little twirl here. Now that it's starting to heat up. Once it's sweat out a good portion of its fat, then I will turn the temperature down to a medium and we cook it over medium. You don't want to cook it over high the whole time or you'll burn your bacon before you get to it. Let's do a little slide. And we're gonna pop our chocolate ones in. So I'm gonna bring this back up nice and hot. Now chocolate bagels are a little bit more hearty than the regular bagels. They do have, you replace 50 grams of bread flour with 50 grams of cocoa powder, but they are lovely and delicious. They're not like super sweet like a donut. They're more mildly sweet, but we're gonna make a chocolate cream cheese to go with them or Nutella, but the mini chocolate chips kind of give them a nice little sweetness to them.
Not cocoa powder.
Not cacao powder, yes. I always missay it. So cocoa powder would make really sweet ones and it doesn't work as much. It makes it spring up too fast. Cacao powder, raw cacao powder is what I use in my starter and for this, which is different than what you're gonna use for making brownies. I just always missay it. Okay, we're gonna make 4 of these everything bagels because I have found out when I make just 2, nobody's happy because these are my girls' favorite. Like my oldest daughter loves these. She loves it when I make sandwiches with them and kind of just any way I have them. So we're gonna do 4 everything bagels. And you just sprinkle this over the top. You don't need to take the time to dip them or anything like that. It's gonna cling to it just fine. There we go. And I always do my chocolate bagels second than my regular bagels because a little bit of that chocolate will melt off into the water and so you don't want those flavors to transfer to your regular bagels. So if you're gonna be doing a specialty bagel, I always do those second.
And how long do you boil them?
About 30 seconds on each side. And that's to give you nice chewy things. You can boil them up to a minute on each side to give you an even thicker base. But I find 30 seconds gives me the perfect kind of thickness to my base. There we go. And once we'll get this batch out, we'll pop our next one in. And then I'm gonna do 2 Italian herbs and cheese, and then we're gonna leave 2 bagels plain. I figured a lot of times I do a cinnamon crunch bagel, but with the chocolate bagels, I figured we don't need any more sweet bagels. I think next time I do bagels, I'm gonna do a bunch of inclusions with the dough the night before and separate it up so that I wanna do like a cranberry orange bagel because I feel like that's kind of the season for it on top of it. But you see how the chocolate, a little bit of those chocolate chips melt in there? So you wanna do your chocolate bagel second. There we go. Slide these guys in here.
spatula might be on its last leg.
It definitely is on its last leg. I love this spatula. He's my fish one. But you know, it can only go so far. I've had it for a couple of years now. Here we go. Let's get our bacon tossed. I'm gonna turn it down to about a medium now because we've got a good base of fat on the bottom. And let's do our Italian herbs and cheese while we wait for these bagels to kind of cook up on their first side. So I'm gonna start with some Parmesan cheese. We're gonna just kind of make a big kind of pile here in the middle. Parmesan works really well for bagels because it takes a little bit longer to melt and crisp up so you can get your good bake on it before it goes brown or burns. We're gonna do our pile and on here. And this is actually one of those times where I will say pre-grated Parmesan works a little bit better because again, it's not as soft as fresh grated Parmesan cheese, which will then burn a little bit faster. And then we're gonna put some Italian herbs over the top of it, and then a little bit of garlic salt. So really simple, easy. Let me grab my garlic salt. Let's flip these guys over first. There we go. Beautiful. So we've finished those up, and then they will be ready to go in our oven to start baking up. So a little bit of garlic salt. Not much, you don't need a whole lot, but just enough to kind of cover it up and give a little bit of a salty flavor to it. Okay. And then let's get our final bagels out here. Give them a little bit of a toss around. Now, the main difference I do from making my pretzels to my bagels, pretzels I boil in a baking soda mixture, and you can do bagels in a baking soda mixture, but I find that it gives you a little bit more of that pretzel taste to it. I like to do my bagels in a honey bath because it gives them a lovely, like, rich brown color, which you don't get from the baking soda. Let's take my boiling water over here. We're gonna go pop these guys in the oven for them to bake off. I'm going to do my plain bagels on top for the first part of the bake, and then I'll do my chocolate bagels on the bottom, and then I'm gonna rotate midway through. Since unfortunately I can't have all of them on the top at the same time. So these are gonna cook for about 20 minutes. I'm gonna set my timer for 10 minutes so I can rotate them and then do then the final 10 minutes. And that way they both will get a nice kind of golden brown color on the top. So while we have that going, let's get our bacon here. And what I'm gonna do, we're gonna cook our sausages and our bacon, and then we'll finally do our kind of our omelet in here. So let's get this guy going. Turn it up. We're gonna start melting some chocolate, and we're gonna start prepping up our different cream cheeses that we're going to be having with our bagels today on there. We're gonna make an omelet for one of them because I'd love to do like a bagel omelet sandwich where you put the omelet inside it and it has like sausage in it, so it's just delicious with the slice of cheese. But we're gonna make, let's do our sweet one first because we need to melt it. We're gonna make a chocolate cream cheese like base for it, for our chocolate bagels, which will just add a little bit of richness. Though I find the chocolate bagels are really good with like peanut butter and Nutella. I know they're more of like a decadent treat, or even just a little bit of butter. Now what I like to do is, normally I have my big tub of cream cheese, but I haven't gone to Costco in a hot minute to restock that. But you don't need to buy a whole bunch of different flavors of cream cheese. Just start with a little bit, put them in bowls, and then you can mix in your flavors, and it makes it so much easier.
You have a question, how long are they fresh for?
The bagels, I will say they last, they're like similar to sourdough bread, so about 3 days. You know, the best thing about bagels is you know, first day we'll eat them straight up hot, but after that you toast them up, which is perfect for them, because they just last really well. Like they toast up nicely like sourdough bread. Okay, we're gonna put a little bit of cream cheese in each one of these to make our little bougie cream cheeses. For the chocolate one, we're actually gonna put it in our, well, we'll mix it in there, but we're gonna melt a little bit of butter and chocolate chips together, and then we'll mix it into our cream cheese into it. We'll add a little bit of powdered sugar. And so it's kind of like halfway between like a cream cheese and a cream cheese frosting, but it's delicious. So I'm gonna start with my butter here. We're gonna just do about a tablespoon of butter. That way I don't have to get a double boiler out. I'm gonna turn my temperature on nice and low here, so I don't scald my chocolate. And I'm going to just pour about maybe like a 1/4 cup of mini chocolate chips in here to melt with it, because I also like to sprinkle some in the mixture once it's kind of cooled off. So you've got little chocolate chip chunks in here. Just about a 1/4 of a cup to make kind of a chocolate ganache. And then we'll mix our cream cheese in it. And then some powdered sugar, which will help kind of hold the base together. And grab a nice cute little snowman spatula. And just keep your temperature on low. The butter is going to prevent your chocolate from burning on there. So it's kind of really crucial that you have it in there. Otherwise, you're going to have to get a double boiler out. I'm just going to kind of mix it together so that as the butter melts, it hits each bit of chocolate. You can also do regular sized chocolate chips if you want. Get our bacon flipped over here. We're gonna let this kind of crisp up nicely, then we'll transfer it, once it's crisped up, to a plate with a paper towel on to soak up the extra grease. That's gonna allow it to get nice and crispy. Okay. Well, that's good. Making a mess. Okay, we're gonna get for one of ours, while we're waiting for this one, I'm just gonna put this here because I'll probably mix it in my pan. It'll be a little bit easier. We're gonna make, this is almost like a deli type cream cheese. We're gonna use a little bit of red onion, some pickles, salami, and cheese and then we'll kind of mix it all up together. But this pairs really well with then like salami and cheese as a sandwich, but it just adds a little extra flavor. So we're gonna dice up our onions nice and fine. I don't even know if I'll use all of these, but we'll have them in here just in case. And we're gonna make them nice a little bit so that we can mix them throughout the cream cheese. And it'll just be absolutely lovely. You don't want to leave them too big because then I feel like it gets a little overpowering. So which one? I'll use this one because that's a good amount. I'm going to use about a tablespoon. Add that in here so I don't need these last little bits. Let's get our bacon a good stir. And then we're going to dice up our pickles. And then we're going to add in some diced up salami and cheddar cheese. And a little bit of garlic salt. Here we go.
Hey, you have a question. Is it true that onions lose their flavor once you cut them?
They can let out a lot of their juices, which has a bit of their flavor with it. Red onions, they mainly lose their flavors when you cook them because they're much better fresh. But if the onions slowly let out all of their liquids, then yes, their flavors will dull out for it. But it's not going to go completely like, oh, I cut them in an hour, they have no flavor. Okay, here is our little chocolate kind of ganache here with our melted butter in it. So I'm going to turn off this back one. We don't need a whole lot to get all this flavor there. just whipping it until it's nice and smooth. I don't want it to heat up too much. Let me turn this bacon down just a smidge. We're almost getting there. Probably like 2 more minutes on the bacon. I feel like growing up, bacon was always cooked in a frying pan. And then I want to say like, maybe like like 2005, everyone went to cooking it in the oven. And I always thought that was like so crazy, and everybody is like, oh, that's the best way, but I'm like, no, in a frying pan, it's the best way. But I feel like it's kind of crazy how it was a completely different switch.
And have you seen the viral thing now?
Yes, the viral thing that this is the new way to cook bacon, and I'm like, this was the way that everybody always cooked bacon.
But now they do it in a pot.
Oh, and yes, in a pot, which is so different from a frying pan. Okay, we're gonna add our chocolate in here. We'll mix it up and then we'll add in a little bit of powdered sugar to get a bit more sweetness to it, because you don't want it to be fully like cream cheese. It needs a little bit of sweetness, otherwise it, you know, it tastes too much like cream cheese. This makes more of a decadent, you know, kind of thing, more of a dessert bagel, but hey, they're delicious. So while it's still warm, kind of whip in that cream cheese, because that's going to allow it to kind of melt and hold together. And then we're gonna whip in some powdered sugar, which will give it a little bit more substance and thicken it up. Otherwise it will be almost too runny. Now you could do this with a whisk and it will whip it even smoother, but a fork I think works fairly good. And you're just gonna kind of whip it around, but you wanna make sure you do it while that chocolate is still warm. Otherwise your cream cheese won't blend into it as nicely. There we go. So we're getting there. And then we're gonna add in some powdered sugar to give it a little bit more sweetness and also kind of bulk it up a little. But our bacon here is looking pretty fantastic. So I'm gonna get a plate out with some paper towels on it so that we can grab these guys off. And this is the key. You've gotta put them on a paper towel to soak off that extra grease, or they're gonna get almost like chewy and not as crispy. There we go. So we'll set them out. Perfect. Now before we cook our omelet, I'm just going to cook up my sausages in this. These are pre-cooked, and just keep your heat off when you do it because they don't take long, and then once that oil's cooled down, we'll turn it up a little bit. But we're gonna cook them off in here, and this gives them a nice kind of crispy outside to them. And then we're gonna go switch our bagels over. Let me just drop these guys in. Okay, we've got that. And throw this bag in here as well. Got our sausages cooking up in our bacon grease, which will again give it a nice kind of crispy outside and just makes the sausage taste better. Now let's go switch our bagels around. We're gonna move them, you know, the top ones up or down and up so that they all can get kind of an equal bit on the top. But you can see, just look how beautiful they're looking here. They're cooking up. They still have 10 minutes left to cook. Beautiful. I'm going to set my timer here. And then they'll be ready to eat in a little bit. Now, when you first get them out, just like with sourdough bread, they need to sit for like a minute or two at least to kind of, so they don't get too gummy inside. And to cool off a little bit. If you try to cut them open, you're gonna like burn yourself trying to hold them. So you have to let them sit for a second. Okay, let's get our powdered sugar in here. We don't need a whole lot. We're gonna just start with about a tablespoon. And we're gonna whip it in there. Again, this will help, you know, mild out some of that cream cheese flavor with it, but you're gonna have like a chocolate kind of cream cheese frosting here, or cream cheese spread. But it won't be as sweet as a frosting, but so it's definitely gonna still have those cream cheese elements in it. But look how beautiful it is. Perfect. Now I'm just gonna take a little taste. Delicious. You almost get like a nice dark chocolate with that cream cheese flavor to it. It's going to be wonderful. And then the last thing that I do is I'm gonna add in a little bit of mini chocolate chips to it. So again, you've got a little bit more chocolatey chunks through it. So that's gonna be about a tablespoon in there. I find that the mini chocolate chips do a little bit better than the full-size chocolate chips. Okay, I'm gonna turn my grease on over here, my pan back on, to about a low, and then I'm gonna flip these sausages and let them kind of cook up on the other side. Now these are pre-cooked sausages, so you're really just warming them up, giving them that nice little bacony grease crust on them, which is so delicious. And then we have our bacon, our crazy fried bacon that we'll have as well. And then we're gonna make our little cheese omelet to go with that. We'll probably put a couple sausages in here. Okay, let's get our pickles out. I need about 2 small pickles or 1 pickle spear for this. And we're gonna mince these up nicely as well. And this is gonna give you like those deli vibes. So this kind of brings it more to like a lunch bagel versus a breakfast bagel. But I like to put this spread on, and then I put like salami or pepperoni on my, and then cheese, lettuce, tomatoes. So it's like a lovely sandwich. But this spread has a lot of flavor in it. And you could do it just with the spread. You don't have to have like all the accoutrements with it. There we go. So just mince up your pickles nice and small. You're gonna want like a nice zesty pickle with this. You don't want to use a sweet pickle because these are more salty flavors that we're going for. Here we go. We're gonna add this in here as well. And then I'm gonna use hard salami. You could also use pepperoni for this for a little bit more of a spicy kick to it. We just need about a few slices of it. We're gonna mince this up. So you have little bits of kind of cubed in here. Here. And then we're gonna throw in our cheese. About a tablespoon or so. So we've got our base here, and then we're gonna actually cut them up together and mix them together on our cutting board here in just a second. But let me get my sausages here. Just wanna check on them. Perfect. So I'm gonna take these guys out since they're nice and I can feel that they've cooked all the way, or they've heated up all the way through. You don't wanna overcook them or they get a little too crunchy. I'll put them out on our paper towel as well, just to soak up of any of that extra grease. There. You can see they've got this nice kind of golden brown edges on it, and that's kind of the crisping up in the bacon grease, which just makes it so much more flavorful. Now before we do our omelets in here, this is runaway sauces. Let's clean them off. We are going to take away some of this bacon grease because it will be way too much and it will give you a really greasy omelet. But we do want to have some in there. So I'm going to start with using my paper towels to soak up some of this extra bacon grease and some of those bits. I do want to leave some in there. I find just getting a paper towel and using your tongs will help pick up some of the burnt bits, but leave you a little bit of those really good stuff in there and helps kind of take it up. And that way this can go straight into the trash can. There. Never ever pour bacon grease down your kitchen sink, even with hot water, because you will be calling a plumber. My husband's looking at me. I haven't done bacon grease, but I have done pork, like grease from a pork roast, because it was like diluted in broth and it did clog it the very next day. I have learned my lesson. I didn't think it was gonna stick. Okay, so let me turn this down. I'm gonna turn it off completely right now, but you see how we're just got a little bit of residual bacon grease in there? You don't want a whole lot, because again, it's gonna make your eggs really greasy. I'm gonna pull it to the side so it doesn't get too hot and crisp up. Let's whisk our eggs together. That way we can get them going for our omelet. Slide this over here. So we're gonna do, how many eggs? I think I got 9, so we'll do like a 9-egg omelet on here. If I'm doing just scrambled eggs, I will crack them in the pan, but for an omelet, you do need to kind of whisk them together for that kind of base. Now I'm using my 10-inch pan, and I feel like the 10-inch pan, you can use between 6 and 10 eggs on the 10-inch pan for a good omelet. Go any less of the eggs, it's spread too thin. Any more, it's too thick. But I find the 10 inch is great for 6 to 10 eggs. I like to do one big omelet versus making a whole bunch of little ones for my kids, because it's easier. Got one more, but my hand can't hold any more eggs. There we go. Let me wash my hands. So, we're gonna give this a quick little whisk up. So pop each yolk, and then we can whisk it together.
And how many eggs is that?
This is 9 eggs. So I'm using a 10-inch pan, and I find between 6 and 8 eggs is the perfect ratio in a 10-inch pan.
This is 9.
This is 9. I said 6 to 10 eggs. Those, you can do that many. 6 gives you a slightly thinner, 10 gives you a slightly thicker, 8 to 9 I think is the perfect kind of mixture.
Pretty sure you said 6 to 8.
I said 6 to 10. We will be rechecking the footage later to show that I was right. Which mostly means I was probably wrong, because misspeaking is like my secret talent, miscalling things. So we've got our bacon grease. We are going to add a pat of butter, because the mixture of butter and bacon grease is like the secret. Okay, we're gonna put our heat over a medium. You don't want it too high.
Chat has my back.
Oh, I don't know about that. We'll see. I'm gonna find it, guys, even if there needs to be some editing that goes along with it. I don't like how everything can be pulled up. In my mind, I said this, so you guys should have just gone off what my mind said, because you guys are mind readers. We'll pour this in here. So we've got it over here, medium kind of heat. We're gonna pour in our base for this, and you're just gonna let it sit and kind of cook up for a little bit, and then what we're gonna do is you're gonna take a thin spatula, and you're gonna lift up the edges and let that egg slide underneath it. That's my favorite way to do it. You can always put the lid on and steam it, but that gives you like a spongier omelet, and I like my method of lifting up and letting it slide down. We're gonna sprinkle a little bit of salt over this, because you definitely need to season up your egg on there. So now that that's kind of getting there, let's get all of our cream cheese out here. We're gonna do our fun little chop up in there. But before we do that, bagels are calling us, so we'll get that going. Beautiful. here are our chocolate, our double chocolate chip bagels, made with sourdough and our chocolate starter. And then we have our everything bagels, Italian herbs and cheese, and our plain bagels. I'm gonna slide this right here. Let me go grab a trivet. Now again, with your bagels, you want to let them sit and kind of steam off just like you do with a sourdough bread. And then we can cut it open and go in there. But we've got our everything bagels right here, which is our plain sourdough bagel with everything seasoning on it. This is our Parmesan herbs and cheese. We've got our double chocolate chip bagels in here. So I used my chocolate chip starter, or my chocolate starter, added in cacao powder and sugar and mini chocolate chips for it. And then we've got plain bagels, and then our everything, or our Italian herbs and cheese. Okay, so now you can see we've got a little bit of a base going here. What you're gonna do is you want a thin spatula, you slide it under here, you lift it up, kind of tilt your pan a little bit to put that egg base underneath it. And we're just gonna go around and do this. This prevents the bottom of your egg or your omelet from getting too brown, since you're essentially putting a new layer there. And I think this is like the perfect way to do it. It helps build up thicker edges. It's not spongy, it's more like, you know, a delicious omelet, not a spongy hotel omelet. Here we go. And this trick is just don't do it over too high of heat, a nice medium heat. That way you don't burn your eggs before you got them all kind of cooked through. And those little tasty bits that you see, that is our bacon, little bits and from the grease in there. See, and you just kind of slide it and ooze it down. It's kind of fun. You need to use a non-stick pan for this because you won't be able to keep that, like, lifting it up if you're using just a regular pan. It just doesn't work as well. Okay, I'm gonna turn this down low, let that kind of steam cook up here for just a little bit, and then we'll see if we can flip any more on it. But low, because you don't want it to cook too much. There we go. And now let's chop up our cream cheese into this kind of base here. So it works if you kind of smush it a little bit first until you're ready to chop it. And this is just gonna give you, you've got that tanginess from the pickles, the little sharpness from the red onions, and then you've got the cream cheese and the cheddar cheese, and then the salami. And it's just really delicious on your own. So this would be great on either the Italian herbs and cheese, the everything, or the plain bagel. But you can also spread it a little bit thinner and then make a sandwich using it with like a sauteed chicken breast or whatnot. But let's take a second. It looks like we're about good here. I'm just gonna slide this last little bit of egg in here. But you can see we've pretty much got all of the sliminess off, which means we are ready to add our cheese in and a little bit of sausage for it, for a sausage and cheddar omelet here. Now we're gonna put our first base of cheese down. Here we go. And then let me grab out my kitchen shears. I'm just gonna take some of my sausages and just kind of cut them up in chunks. That way you're not getting a whole sausage patty in there. You could always, you know, just use like breakfast sausage and scramble that up in a pan first. but this works well too. There we go. I think that should be enough in there. It's a pretty good amount because we will also have it. And then for my second cheese, because I'm out of my triple cheddar blend, we've got just a good bit of regular sharp cheddar cheese. I'm gonna use a Parmesan grater because I have it right here. And we're just gonna grate some of this over the top. Freshly grated is gonna melt a little bit nicer, give you a nicer, gooier, cheesy omelet than pre-shredded because it has that anti-caking agent on it, but both work. Here we go. So that should be a good amount. You don't want to put too much or it gets a little too cheesy. Gotta pay the pittance. It's a lot of cheese. I feel like he works for unreasonable rates here. And then we're gonna flip this guy over, just like that. And then you're just gonna let it kind of steam cook here for just a little bit. But you see, you can make a big 9-egg omelet in one pan, and then you just give little chunks to it. So we're gonna let that cook it on low for just another so. But you know, pouring that in allows it to have a nice kind of blondish color to the omelet versus a brown and burnt edge. Okay, let's get these all kind of mixed up here. Okay, so we've got this is our good deli deliciousness. And you can see how just like 2 tablespoons of cream cheese has like grown in size. So this will actually go on a lot of great ones. And wash my hands. Let me I forgot to grab my little pesto out of here. We'll do our sun-dried tomato pesto cream cheese, and then we'll do a honey one because I love a good honey cream cheese. So let me grab our spoon, and then we'll be ready to serve up here. Everything is just about ready. You know what, I might just do 1 cream cheese and leave 1 plain because my kids also love a good plain one. Let's get a good scoop of sun-dried tomato pesto, about a tablespoon. So 2 tablespoons of cream cheese to 1 tablespoon of sun-dried tomato pesto. You could also do this with regular pesto, but the sun-dried tomato is really lovely with the Italian herbs and cheese. And then I've got some sun-dried tomatoes here. We want about a tablespoon of that. And we're gonna give that a good chop up here. Let me clean off my blade. We'll mince them up and we're gonna mix them in there. But you want to kind of chop them up a little bit finer so that you're not just getting a huge sun-dried tomato. Okay. And this way you don't have to go out and buy like 5 different cream cheeses. You can just buy 1 regular cream cheese pack and you can make so many different flavors with it. Here we go. And just use your fork to mix it in. Beautiful. And I find forks work better than spoons because it allows it to really break that cream cheese apart. Okay. I think we'll leave 1 plain because I know my kids want a plain and I don't have any more cream cheese after this. So we'll just do with our 3 specialty ones here. Now, let's get ready to make our little brunch bougie, like different sandwiches here. Okay, got my omelet off now because that cheese in the middle should have melted by now. And let me grab 1 more spoon for this. So we can start spreading it on. And then I've got my one. So let's start with a chocolate bagel here. So nice, it has like a nice kind of chewy crust on it. We're gonna cut it all the way through. Again, remember, always let it sit. But you see how you've got those nice little bubbles in there from a sourdough bread. Cut it all the way through here. And then this one I'm gonna do with our chocolate cream cheese with our mini chocolate chips in it and a little bit of butter and melted chocolate. So this is definitely going to be a nice decadent one. And this I think the kids are absolutely going to love, love, love. To do our Italian herbs and cheese, this one I have my daughter Evie in mind because these are all of her favorite kind of flavors. We're going to cut this guy open. Also letting them cool off a little bit makes them to where they're not 900 degrees. Again, beautiful, nice bubbly crust in here. We're going to serve this one with our bougie pickle, red onion, salami, cheddar cheese base to it. Spread a nice kind of base all the way around. And then we're gonna make this into a sandwich. We're gonna add on some more salami, and then a slice of Havarti cheese. And you've got yourself a beautiful kind of, lunch version of it with our Italian herbs and cheese bagel. Let's do our everything bagel, which will go really well with the sun-dried tomato. They just kind of work. And then we'll do a plain one with our breakfast, or with our omelet inside it and some bacon. So that's there. Get it? Perfect. Made a little bit of a mess. So here's our everything bagel. Again, just beautiful. I'm not going to flip over the top because I don't want to lose too much of our little seeds on it. We're going to take our sun-dried tomato cream cheese, where we added sun-dried tomato pesto in here and diced up sun-dried tomato. So it's just going to really scream that lovely kind of rich flavor of a sun-dried tomato. And it pairs really well with those spices of the everything bagel. And then, last but definitely not least, breakfast bagel. We're going to cut our bagel open. And this one I use this as a bread, as a sandwich, so no cream cheese on it. Again, beautiful, nice sourdough base to it. We're going to take a chunk of our omelet, which has, again, the cheese and the sausage in it. You're going to lay it on your bagel. We're going to add in 2 slices of bacon, and voila, you have a bagel omelet sandwich. So, again, we have a great selection of bagels that you can have for breakfast using our basic things. Super easy. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day to kind of show you what we make in our family and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page, so if you ever want to recreate any of these recipes at home, you can just go to our page, search for what we made. So we've got our bagel breakfast, and you can watch and cook along with us. Last night, we actually prepped up our bagel dough, so if you go to our video from last night, you'll be able to make the dough from scratch too. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront that has all of our different cooking gear and gadgets in it. So I've got my cutting boards, my hex-clad pans, my baking sheets, all the different things that I use in the kitchen I have in there for you guys to check out. But again, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe.